Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another.
Welcome back to the channel, Facts for Gentlemen. If you like the content, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Today, I have one of my absolute favorite speeches of all time. It's from Admiral Bill McRaven. This is from a few years ago when he was giving a commencement speech at his alma mater, the University of Texas. If you don't know who Admiral McRaven is, he's an ex-Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6 leader. He was also the commander of the United States Joint Special Operations Command, as well as the United States Special Operations Command. So Admiral McRaven really knows what he's doing. He was in charge of the teams when they called Osama bin Laden. He was in charge of the teams when they did that Maersk, Alabama on the sea execution of the operation with the Somali pirates. He really knows what he's talking about, and in this commencement speech, he's going to go through the 10 things that he learned during BUDS, which is the basic underwater demolition class that they undergo as Navy SEALs. So let's get into it.
What starts here changes the world. I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us, will apply equally to all.
I want to pause it right there because he said something that's really important before he even gets into his speech. You know, he says, you know, a lot of people say, you know, what might have worked for you may not work for me, and you don't know my circumstances, but there are certain things that are proven to work, and those are the things that he's focusing on. And in general, everybody does have unique circumstances, but there are some proven paths to things that work in life.
So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
All right, so that's important. Start the day by making your bed. A lot of people, they overlook the small things, but really, what some people, behavioral scientists, call it stacking. You do one thing and that gives you momentum, and that creates inertia, and essentially the small things, just get you off in the right direction. It gets your mood in the right direction. It gets you believing that you can do things, that you're capable. And like you said, and even if all else fails, at least you have those things to fall back on to take pride in. And a lot of people just simply overlook the small things. And you're never going to learn to do the big things great if you can't do the small things great. And it's the attention to detail. And everybody that's really on the next level with success, those people really have a huge attention to detail, and it starts with the little things.
During SEAL training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat, and 1 coxswain to help guide the dinghy. Every day your boat crew forms up on the beach and is instructed to get through the surf zone and paddle several miles down the coast. In the winter, the surf off San Diego can get to be 8 to 10 feet high, and it is exceedingly difficult to paddle through the plunging surf unless everyone digs in. Every paddle must be synchronized to the stroke count of the coxswain. Everyone must exert equal effort, or the boat will turn against the wave and be unceremoniously dumped back on the beach. For the boat to make it to its destination, everyone must paddle. You can't change the world alone. You will need some help. And to truly get from your starting point to your destination takes friends, colleagues, the goodwill of strangers, and a strong coxswain to guide you. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle.
All right, you heard that. Find someone to help you paddle. In those boat crews, like you said, it's 7 people. There's a coxswain, who's essentially that person in the front or the person in the back that balances the boat and synchronizes the crew. Everybody rows on the coxswain's pace. And like he says, if everybody, you can't, first of all, you can't row one of those boats by yourself out into the surf. It's extremely hard to get into the surf. I used to live in San Diego. I used to see these guys do that out on Coronado on the Silver Strand. And you can't do that by yourself, first and foremost. So that you got to know certain things you can't do by yourself. And even when you do it, there's going to take some synchronization and some teamwork. And oftentimes is going to have to be in charge, the leader. But everybody's going to have to do their part, pull their weight, and be in sync. And I can definitely say that's the truth. In terms of everything that I've ever seen go great in my life, that's exactly what I saw on the team. And even in terms of just having people in your life, every major opportunity I had and every major door I ever had open to me, from jobs to scholarships to business opportunities, they were all brought to me because I had these other people that were helping me navigate life with me that had common interests as well. So, find somebody to help you go through life with. Find you a nice, strong coxswain, which is a leader, somebody that you can follow or listen to or become that yourself. And find your crew, work together, synchronize, and work hard, and everybody dig in together.
Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers.
All right. So that's a big one. Respect everybody, you know. Like you said, they organize those boat crews by height for a reason, right? As we're talking about, it's hard to get out in the surf, and when you're the same height, you have the same kind of stroke length when you're in the boat. So it kind of helps with that, as well as the balance and the weight distribution and all of those things. But what did he say here? You know, they used to make fun and have jokes. He looks like Admiral McRaven. I've never really seen how tall he is, but every time I've seen him next to people, he's towering over them. So I think he's probably a tall man, maybe 6'4", 6'3", 6'6", even maybe. Have no idea, but you know, they're making fun, having jokes about the tiny little flippers of the Munchkin crew. But at the end of the day, these guys were the ones that were outperforming and you know, listen to what the crew was made up of. It was black guys, white guys, Native Americans. It was a mix of Pacific Islanders, of all sorts of people. And like he said, this was the great equalizer, because at the end of the day, it didn't matter what your background was. It only mattered if you performed. And those little guys showed up with all those diverse backgrounds and performed. And it, you know, that goes to show you that you can't overlook people, and don't allow people to overlook you. Respect everyone and command your respect.
Several times a week, the instructors would line up the class and do a uniform inspection. It was exceptionally thorough. Your hat had to be perfectly starched, your uniform immaculately pressed, your belt buckle shiny and void of any smudges. But it seemed that no matter how much effort you put into starching your hat or pressing your uniform or polishing your belt buckle, it just wasn't good enough. The instructors would find something wrong. For failing the uniform inspection, the student had to run, fully clothed, into the surf zone, then wet from head to toe, roll around on the beach until every part of your body was covered with sand. The effect was known as a sugar cookie. You stayed in the uniform the rest of the day, cold, wet, and sandy. There were many a student who just couldn't accept the fact that all their efforts were in vain, that no matter how hard they tried to get the uniform right, it went unappreciated. Those students didn't make it through training. Those students didn't understand the purpose of the drill. You were never going to succeed. You were never going to have a perfect uniform. The instructors weren't going to allow it. Sometimes, no matter how well you prepare or how well you perform, you still end up as a sugar cookie. It's just the way life is sometimes. If you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward.
So that's real. Life's not always fair, you know. That's just the way that it is. I mean, we can talk about what it would be nice if it was this way or that way, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And it's not fair. And what I find is the people who are the most effective, successful, they acknowledge reality for good or for worse. They acknowledge it and they accept it. And like you said, you know, this drill wasn't even about getting the bed right. It was simply a test of psychology. It was a test of, can you show up every day, even though we keep telling you're falling short. It was an impossible task. Everybody was going to become a sugar cookie, and if you couldn't handle what came with that, they knew that you didn't have the temperament to be a Navy SEAL. And so, you know, I'm not saying that you need to become a sugar cookie, but can you become a sugar cookie and still persevere? Ask yourself that.
Every day during training, you were challenged with multiple physical events: long runs, long swims, obstacle courses, hours of calisthenics, something designed to test your mettle. Every event had standards, times you had to meet. If you failed to meet those times, those standards, your name was posted on a list, and at the end of the day, those on the list were invited to a circus. A circus was 2 hours of additional calisthenics, designed to wear you down, to break your spirit, to force you to quit. No one wanted a circus. A circus meant that for that day, you didn't measure up. A circus meant more fatigue, and more fatigue meant that the following day would be more difficult and more circuses were likely. But at some time during SEAL training, everyone made the circus list. But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength and physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times, it will test you to your very core. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circuses.
All right, so you heard it. Don't be afraid of the circuses. Don't be afraid to fail. At times in life, like you said, everybody make the circus list. So, there's nothing wrong with making the circus list. You just don't want to stay on the circus, the circus list, because that means you're not improving. But what they saw was the guys who stayed on the circus list. At first, they were behind. At first, they were weak. At first, they were slow. But eventually, by being on the circus list over and over and over and over and over, they got more and more reps. And eventually they got stronger, they got faster, they got better. So learn from that. It's okay to be on the circus list, but go back to the drawing board, grind harder, and get yourself off the circus list. And don't be afraid to be on the circus list, because if you never show up on the circus list, then you ain't trying.
At least twice a week, the trainees were required to run the obstacle course. The obstacle course contained 25 obstacles, including a 10-foot wall, a 30-foot cargo net, a barbed wire crawl, to name a few. But the most challenging obstacle was the slide for life. It had a 3-level, 30-foot tower at one end and a 1-level tower at the other. In between was a 200-foot-long rope. You had to climb the 3-tiered tower, and once at the top, you grabbed the rope, swung underneath the rope, and pulled yourself hand over hand until you got to the other end. The record for the obstacle course had stood for years when my class began in 1977. The record seemed unbeatable until one day a student decided to go down the slide for life head first. Instead of swinging his body underneath the rope and inching his way down, he bravely mounted the top of the rope and thrust himself forward. It was a dangerous move, seemingly foolish and fraught with risk. Failure could mean injury and being dropped from the course. Without hesitation, the student slid down the rope perilously fast. Instead of several minutes, it only took him half that time. And by the end of the course, he had broken the record.
Okay.
If you want to change the world, sometimes you have to slide down the obstacles head first.
All right, so you heard that. Don't be afraid to slide down the obstacles head first. It's a reason that a lot of the millionaires in this country have been financially bankrupt. It's because the same type of mindset that allows you to have a better than average outcome, or oftentimes the same types of mindsets that can lead to you having a lower than average outcome, right? And our most successful people are oftentimes risk takers. Look at somebody like Elon Musk. He's now the richest man in the world. He took the risk of creating a rocket company. After taking the risk of creating a car company, after acquiring it, in the early stages, right? after taking the risk of creating a PayPal. And you know, at all those stages, he already had his money. He didn't have to put it back in. He didn't have to recycle it, but he was taking those risks. Look at Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin. But look at just historically with any really great person, you know, they've been willing to take those risks, whether it be sports, arts, entertainment, politics. You have to be willing to take those risks if you're really going to be great or even competitive. You know, like you said, you know, you used to could do that and you would be competitive, but now people have seen you can slide down head first. So if you don't slide down head first, now you're done.
During the land warfare phase of training, the students are flown out to San Clemente Island, which lies off the coast of San Diego. The waters off San Clemente are a breeding ground for the great white sharks. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you are also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, darts towards you, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks.
Simple said as put. Don't back down from the sharks. You know, don't go out looking for trouble, but also understand how to advocate for yourself and not to allow yourself to be pushed over, taken advantage of. And be strategic. Don't be an emotional mess and think you got to call everybody and everything out. But at the end of the day, know what you're worth, how you should be treated, what you desire, what you demand, and demand it and stand on it and stand on it. And standing up to the bullies don't mean Will Smithing and punching people in the face. Standing up to the bullies mean just standing on your principles and not being wishy-washy when it comes to what you believe and what you desire and what you demand to, out of a situation or a relationship, you know?
As Navy SEALs, one of our jobs is to conduct underwater attacks against enemy shipping. We practice this technique extensively during training. The ship attack mission is where a pair of SEAL divers is dropped off outside an enemy harbor and then swims well over 2 miles underwater, using nothing but a depth gauge and a compass to get to the target. During the entire swim, even well below the surface, there is some light that comes through. It is comforting to know that there is open water above you. But as you approach the ship, which is tied to a pier, the light begins to fade. The steel structure of the ship blocks the moonlight. It blocks the surrounding street lamps. It blocks all ambient light. To be successful in your mission, you have to swim under the ship and find the keel, the center line, and the deepest part of the ship. This is your objective. But the keel is also the darkest part of the ship, where you cannot see your hand in front of your face, where the noise from the ship's machinery is deafening, and where it gets to be easily disoriented, and you can fail. Every SEAL knows that under the keel, at that darkest moment of the mission, is a time when you need to be calm, when you must be calm, when you must be composed, when all your tactical skills, your physical power, and your inner strength must be brought to bear. If you want to change the world, you must be your very best in the darkest moment.
So true. Is that oftentimes really the key to that is being prepared. And the difference in freezing when the moment comes and not freezing when the moment comes is being prepared. But when the moment comes, you have to be able to really focus in on what's going on. Like you said, when they're going down to the keel of the ship to do demolition, you know, they're taking out vessels and things like that, right? Huge things, completely dark, can't see your hand in front of your face. You're listening to all these vacuum pumps, vibrations. If you ever been around heavy machinery, you know how loud it is. And so you're talking about deafening, dark, and you have to find the sweet spot, the keel on the ship. And I mean, think about what's the keel that you need to find. What's the sweet spot you need to find, and really focus in on that, and leave out the distractions.
The 9th week of training is referred to as Hell Week. It is 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and one special day at the Mud Flats. The Mud Flats are an area between San Diego and Tijuana where the water runs off and creates the Tijuana Sloughs, a swampy patch of terrain where the mud will engulf you. It is on Wednesday of Hell Week that you paddle down to the Mud Flats and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive the freezing cold, the howling wind, and the incessant pressure to quit from the instructors. As the sun began to set that Wednesday evening, my training class, having committed some egregious infraction of the rules, was ordered into the mud. The mud consumed each man till there was nothing visible but our heads. The instructors told us we could leave the mud if only 5 men would quit. Only 5 men, just 5 men, and we could get out of the oppressive cold. Looking around the mud flat, it was apparent that some students were about to give up. It was still over 8 hours till the sun came up. 8 more hours of bone-chilling cold. The chattering teeth and the shivering moans of the trainees were so loud, it was hard to hear anything. And then one voice began to echo through the night. One voice raised in song. The song was terribly out of tune, but sung with great enthusiasm. One voice became 2. And 2 became 3, and before long, everyone in the class was singing. The instructors threatened us with more time in the mud if we kept up the singing, but the singing persisted. And somehow the mud seemed a little warmer, and the wind a little tamer, and the dawn not so far away. If I have learned anything in my time traveling the world, it is the power of hope. The power of one person, a Washington, a Lincoln, King, Mandela, and even a young girl from Pakistan, Malala. One person can change the world by giving people hope. So if you want to change the world, start singing when you're up to your neck in mud.
Hey, you probably heard this before, but it's true. Hope is the only thing more powerful than fear. And that's the truth. That's the reason every last one of those people that he named on that list, despite the odds, were successful because they gave people hope, you know. And hope sometimes can turn into delusion, so you have to be careful with that. But at the end of the day, have to really be positive and inspirational to yourself and to other people around you, if you're really trying to get where you're gonna go, because life gets hard, you know. So yeah.
Finally, in SEAL training, there's a bell. A brass bell that hangs in the center of the compound for all the students to see. All you have to do to quit is ring the bell. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to wake up at 5 o'clock. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to be in the freezing cold swims. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to do the runs, the obstacle course, the PT, and you no longer have to endure the hardships of training. All you have to do is ring the bell to get out. If you want to change the world, don't ever ring the bell.
Okay, guys, this is number 10, but this is really number 1. Don't ever ring the bell. Until you ring the bell, you're still in the fight. You're still in the game. But once you ring the bell, you're done. Okay? So if you have to crawl, but don't ring the bell. Okay? Never ring the bell. if you don't want to. If you want to ring the bell, then ring the bell, but don't ring the bell if it's something that you want to really do just because it gets tough. If it's what you really want, don't ring the bell, ever.
It will not be easy. Start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and that you will fail often. But if you take some risks, step up when the times are the toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never ever give up. If you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better. Thank you very much.
So y'all heard it, the 10 things that he listed, and I really like this video a lot. I really love this speech a lot. I have a lot of respect for Admiral McRaven, and I think his speech really flowed well, and we're just gonna go through the 10 things real quick on the way out. Number 1, start the day with a completed task. Number 2, find someone to help you through life. Number 3, respect everyone. Number 4, life is not always fair, move forward. Number 5, don't be afraid to fail often. Number 6, take risk. Number 7, face down the bullies. Number 8, step up when the times are the toughest. Number 9, lift up the downtrodden. And number 10, never give up. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, make sure that you like, you subscribe, you share. With that being said, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care.